Thanks, Ryan. It's great to see familiar faces here. And I've been, as Ryan said, I'm in Department of Natural Resources. I'm in the recreation end of things. And a lot of my time is spent with, thanks for turning me up, by the way. I'm a soft-spoken guy.
That's what I'm here for.
Good.
I'm the AV guy, too.
All right, so most of my time is spent with recreation in general, but I do have a particular place where I work with county governments, with our state trail and their operation and upkeep. And so that's a big part of my job. Another part of my job is working with partner groups, WADFA and AWSC with the snowmobiles, with the Ice Age Trail, Ice Age National Scenic Trail. And so I get to work with recreation in general, and as Sarah mentioned, just working together to move recreation forward, I think is where the wind's going to be, and we're going to get there. Department of Natural Resources manages thousands of acres of land, hundreds of thousands of acres of land, and that's an opportunity. An opportunity is there's land to be used in different ways. Primarily, our land is used according to what we call master plans, and the planning process is really where decisions are made for what is able to be done on the property as for recreation. So all of our properties are open to hunting and fishing and cross-country skiing and trapping, with some restrictions based on what types of properties they are. And so properties that we have are purchased through certain funding mechanisms. Some are purchased through federal dollars, some state dollars. And so with those particular funding sources, there are rules that go along with that. So for instance, if there was a property that was purchased with federal dollars that specified that this is for non-motorized recreation only, then we have to adhere to that. But then there's properties that are purchased in general for outdoor recreation, and we can make decisions based on what is best for that property and what the public has told us they'd like to have publicly, what types of recreation they'd like to have. So my encouragement is, for folks interested in the different types of recreation, is be a participant in the planning process. Those are where the department can take your comments and apply it to a particular property. It just so happens that we're doing a lot of planning around the state over the next few years. So if you're interested in a particular part of the state, if you go to our webpage, and I can talk to you offline about this, you go to our webpage and see what the schedule is for planning for that part of the state, and then be involved, and then get your friends to be involved, and let us know, hey, this is a great property for this recreation, and here's why, and here's what our recreation is. And I think the conversations I've had with Ryan and Luana as well is just, hey, this is our recreation. People over here have this view of what four-wheel drive recreation is all about. That's wrong. Here's what it is. I think the more you're outspoken about the way to recreate the right way and legally, the more walls will be brought down, and we'll be able to continue to provide those resources. We have roads that are forest roads, mainly a lot of forest roads that are open to street legal vehicles, and you can use them now. The idea of adding some enhanced areas via those roads, that's something we're working on, trying to figure out how we can implement that. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to take a little bit of that public participation in the planning process in order to make those things happen. So anyway, that's all I got, unless you want something more from me.
Well, we had talked about trying to set up some test plots about slow speed trails too, and just very generically off the cuff, seeing what that kind of would look like or what processes we need to be involved with to do that. So even if we did it for the public use, our own private organizations would have to provide the funding to make that happen. So again, I think that a lot of that stuff is still doable if we can keep that kind of stuff on the table to make that plan before, before we ink it all out. So.
Right, and the perspective we have is, if we're going to do something, we want to make sure it's sustainable and that it matches the intent of that property. And if it, or I shouldn't say it matches, if it doesn't disrupt the intent of that property. So it may be something new, and we got to think about how to implement that. And quite frankly, I think we have properties that we can play around with.
Sure.
And see how certain structures might be well adapted, that an everyday person driving by this, they'll have no idea why that rock pile is sitting there. But people who have a Jeep are going to see that as an opportunity.
Hey, look, that's on the map. All right.
So, Cameron, is there any chance of having funding for test programs, or is there?
And that's the other thing is fund. How do we fund these? And as Ryan said, we don't have a specific program that is dedicated towards this type of activity. We have the snowmobile and ATV funding. We've got funding from the stewardship program, which has its rules towards it. The motorcycle folks just got theirs, and then that would be the next step, is have a dedicated funding source to be able to install things that are specifically for this type of recreation.
But as a test program, is there any possibilities of getting anything funding? I mean, like RTP funds or anything like that for test programs?
That's a good question. I have to look into that. But I think in terms of what Ryan's talking about is, I don't know if this is the right terminology, but maybe the proof is in the pudding. Hey, look at this. We built this, and here is a success story. There isn't damages here. It's not providing a source of problems for the property manager. It's actually providing maybe more notoriety to that property. And if it's a property that requires an entrance fee, hey, there's revenue here. If it's providing a place for people to come, and then they're doing interactivity, and then after they're done, they go out and make some repairs to a trail, or they pick up garbage, or they do all these other things as a way of providing a public service. Those are ways to, once again, take away that incorrect stigma that people have, and provide a reality of, okay, this is really who we are. We're not these renegades over here. We're these people that enjoy the outdoors, we do it a certain way, and we do it the right way.
And from a private sector side, could we have options that we don't have currently in place? Like Regan applied for the BF Goodrich, what is that, the Outstanding Trails Grant last year or the year before. It took forever, but we got it. $5,000 to do trail work. Sweet. Could we keep doing that? Because I know there's manufacturers out there who would definitely want to be involved. And like right now, some of the trail signing, you can't put, this trail was in partnership with BF Goodrich. You can't put that on the trail signs. Why not? Why can't we get private sector stuff, if it's appropriate, to help fund some of this stuff? Because from a trail side, you look at a snowmobile trail or an ATV club or whatever, and you got to put up $10,000 worth of trail signs. Where are you going to get that money from? Could we involve more private sector? That's the question I ask. Why don't we have more of that available now? Sure, we got where it goes to the restaurants and stuff, but
that's part of what the Office of Outdoor Recreation seeks to explore, which is to say, when you bring all the parties, or as many parties as possible that share interests in, if it's the private sector, they want to sell more of their things to the people who want to buy their things, and if they're at the table with the people who are buying their things, and want to encourage more use of their things, there's mutually beneficial reason for those
Sure.
things to happen. Now, what are the limits to that, and how does that play out? That all has to be determined and be appropriate. But that is a lot of what we've seen in several other states with offices of outdoor recreation. In Colorado, they've seen significant influx of product manufacturing businesses coming in the outdoor rec space, which creates jobs, which also creates sustainability of the industry itself and strengthens it further, and then partnerships can blossom. So, I mean, their biggest impact has been in additional tourism arrivals by a lot and expenditure by a lot, but also jobs and business relocation.
Sure.
And the more you have people at the table who want to see those things succeed, the more opportunities there are for the volunteer groups and the nonprofit groups to actually partner and achieve the shared goals.
Sure. Excellent. Excellent.
I've done a project with a mining company. I learned a lot about mining out west. I don't know if it's as much with the quarries here, but I know they have the reclamation when they close a mine and quarry, it's got to be returned back. I know Badlands down in Indiana is made in an old quarry. I mean, that could be one other option too, is working, hey, rather than spending all this money to restore it, can we turn it into a tourist spot? And you're still spending the same amount of money, maybe even less. It could be where it's on their dime, and we end up with a tourist spot, just like Badlands in Indiana. I don't know how many other quarries. I'm sure there's plenty of other quarries
There's
out there.
lots of quarries in Wisconsin. A lot of them have a lot of big rocks that they can't put through the crushers, and it's not quite architectural rock. It's not good enough for that, but it's too big to put in the crusher. I'm like, oh, we can crawl that. We'll take that from you.
Jeep rock.
Yeah, that's a Jeep rock. Instead of it making a junk rock, hey, let's get a couple of dumps of those and put them into place. Yeah, absolutely.
You're right. On the money side too, when I went to Michigan last, I think I had it right. So I had to buy 3 different stickers in the state of Michigan. I had to get an out-of-state sticker that said I'm not from your state, but I want to recreate on your trails. I think I paid like $15 for that. And once I had that, then I could buy an off-road vehicle sticker, and then I had to have like an ORD sticker. I had 3 stickers on the back of my windshield just to go to Michigan, and they were good for 6 months. I think I paid all of them maybe like $50, something like that. Same thing went to South Dakota. You had to purchase the rights to have a sticker to be on the state-owned trails, and I'm sure the ATVs had to do it as well. And I'm sure there's revenue, what that user group paying their own way. I don't know what the right rate would be, but it's kind of all over the board when we travel. Every state, though, you do have to pay the state. They do have the investment in the maintenance of those trails.
Same stickers are on the back of my Jeep. Different color, I bet, from different year.
Sure.
You brought up quarries and reclamation, and there are state rules to that, and so that's a good idea. In fact, Luana and I were talking about that, as far as opportunities that might be out there right now. So, so I guess that's the question is, are the state rules allowing for that type, and if they aren't, is there a way to make it available for that to happen?
In meeting with the folks that were handling that NR, whatever that rule is, they found it was acceptable use at the time.
It's all exciting. So many opportunities here. Another point, but whatever. Let's get riding.
Scott?
It must not have been that important if you forgot it.
Well, we're here as a resource, just like Luana's group, just like the other clubs in Wisconsin. We're all here to try to do this together. We all have our own different ways of doing things we do, but at the end of the day, if we get your office set up, and oh man, that's going to be good stuff. To be able to do that together with all the recreations, I think we can get a lot more done, hopefully.
I mean, even just imagine the insurance challenge.
Yeah.
If there were more parties at the table seeking similar types of insurance, or a larger pool, just even the littlest, that's a big one, but even one thing like that, to be able to say, how does collaboration benefit all, and then figuring out from there.
And we did that on our personal side with World Eagle 4-Wheel Drive, where as a club, to get a regular insurance policy for their club to ride at a facility, $5-10 grand. Well, that's ridiculous. But if we pooled all the clubs together, we can get it for under $1,000 for the whole year for unlimited rides, as long as it's not competition. So I mean, yes, absolutely. When you bring more parties to the table, you can get a better rate on that stuff. And that's that's a door unlocker. If you don't have that liability or some way to protect it through the state, there's no way you should even approach a
And
landowner.
that translates across multiple different
Yep.
recreational vehicles. I mean, like mountain biking associations from all over the state have the same problem, and unless they're connected directly to each other, they're going it alone, and that's challenging. So just imagine, I mean, translate that across every category of recreation that we have in the state, and then imagine how just solving that one problem would make a difference to everyone and open doors and lower barriers. So that's the hope.
You're a great mediator. You should just stay up there.
Or when does the auction start?
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I talk that fast.
Any other questions for Cameron? The state of Wisconsin, the DNR, tourism, you guys have all been very, very open to ideas and hearing what we're trying to do. And Jeff's been very good about, the Crawler Fest idea and having ideas to try to make one big event to try to focus this. And it's, something we may be able to get GEM grants for and offset with, again, private industry coming in on the other side on it. And it's very exciting to see what 2020 is going to look like with that. So I do appreciate all of the, lawmakers and state folks that are here to help make this happen. It's such a relief to have people to talk to that will respond. In a lot of cases, there isn't.
And that's, the point is we all have a part to play, and having that open communication on how can we get to from where we are now to where we'd like to be. And so, yeah, I'd be part of the conversation. I know our agency is looking forward to listening to seeing what could be done. So.
All right. Yes, James?
Just in the past, we look at Wisconsin, just out of curiosity, what has held back the vehicle side of opening trails? I mean, in other states we see that that stuff is like plainly out there. I don't know if it's the tourism side that, as living in Wisconsin all my life, knowing that I can go down a forest road and not get in trouble. I mean, I haven't been able to find that information really anywhere until the last couple of years. And, I find that kind of odd, and I've moved around the state from Ashland to Marshfield down to Madison now, and it's, everybody I talk to kind of feels the same way, it's, can I, can't I? They feel like they're doing something illegal just trying to approach it. Is there a reason for that? I mean, has it been somewhere in the past? Has it been kind of locked down, or is it just opinion that people have created on their own?
Yeah, that's a good question. If I provide you an opinion, that'd be my opinion, right? But my guess is that maybe there was some allowances, or there was the ability, and then something bad happened, and then the reaction is to, well, let's not let
Close
that
it down.
happen. So, but I guess the past is the past, and I like to look forward. What is our strategy moving forward? And with technology, the machines we have nowadays, the ability for us to have a better understanding of how to build things so that they're more sustainable. I think that's a big thing. Because back in the day when we built trails, we built them straight up the hill. Well, if you know anything about trails, that's a great way to not have it very long. It's just going to turn into a gully. And so just from the knowledge of what we know about land management and what we know about different types of equipment and their capabilities, and just now the ability to communicate and have a bigger conversation. I think looking forward, I'm excited to see that happen moving forward. What can we do?
And I would like to add too that for those of you who don't know, the 4x4 recreation is one of the oldest in Wisconsin, but it has the least opportunities or the least known opportunities. What I'm finding out is there are opportunities. There isn't a local club to work with local land managers and government agencies. That's a big one. When you don't have a volunteer group that is able to take command of a trail system or own it in some fashion, the ATVs and the UTVs and snowmobiles, they are passionate about those trails that they maintain. On the Jeep side, on the World Legal 4-wheel drive side, we don't see that same kind of passion yet, or I don't think we do, or we did and didn't, or people come in and out of it. When the LCJs, which was the most predominant club back in the 80s, they were doing exactly what we were doing for road legal, but not just for road legal, everybody. And they were building bridges on trails and working with land managers, and there was events every week. Things were happening. But when the group fell apart, a lot of that management fell apart. Wisconsin 4x4, I don't want to put you on a spot, but you guys were like the largest. And then what happens?
Have we built bridges?
I mean,
Yes, I know.
you've done incredible amounts of work.
Yep.
And then, why does it falter? Do we not have the connection between the state partners and the local volunteers? These are questions that I try to answer or ask because, in my opinion, the Jeep stuff should be farther along than the ATV stuff because they've been around longer, but for some reason, they're not. That doesn't mean the trails aren't there, though. You look at the Northern Highland American Legion State Forest just did a road review on, it was the unmaintained roads that they had to map last year. 910 miles, over 225,000 acres. Mapped out. It's on the DNR's website. You can go there. It's on the Forest Service website. You can get the info. Try to get that map and correlate with those trails. We started mapping some of those. Good luck. It is tough. And some of those trails haven't been used in 5 to 7 years. You know how hard it is to get through a trail that hasn't been used in even 1 year? Much less 5 or 6 years? Look at my doors, and I will tell you what that does to a vehicle. It rashes the crap out of them as we try to maintain it. But as a user group, we approached the land manager and said, look, we're willing to be part of the solution. Tell us what you want us to do. Do we need to bring up brushing equipment? Do we need to bring up volunteers like we're doing at Tigerton tomorrow, or when we're done riding here? We're putting out the chainsaws, getting the rock crawlers out, getting the skid steers out, and we're helping the village of Tigerton fix and maintain the trails. Without that user group, I don't know that maybe, the new things coming out will help address that. But without central leadership that stays on point,
I can tell you that we depend a lot on local clubs. My coverage area is northwestern Wisconsin, and for a small period of time, basically north of Highway 10, across the state. I can't do that. I'm not able to go out and do actual on-the-ground work. I'm a desk jockey, all right? I'm willing to admit it. We depend on folks that know how to run equipment and have the time and ability and know-how and the want to go out and take care of trails. Without their help, without the local clubs doing the work, we wouldn't have the trail system. We just wouldn't. There's a limited number of staff that we have in the department to maintain trails and parks, and they can't be everywhere. But Ryan's right. The local people, the volunteers, the club members that do the work, they're critical to success. Absolutely.
and having the resources also available on how to build those trails. Is there a good site that's, if a local chamber wanted to bring their land managers in and say, hey, can we build these trails? Is there a resource for them that they can utilize to say, here's how to build it, or here's the class to take, or here's the online course you could look at? That stuff could be improved. That's stuff that we could offer as a user group in conjunction with state partners or what have you to make that happen. On the Novus Group side, Adam, forestry folks were looking for ATV classes. That wasn't a thing. We made it a thing. We helped them drive safely so that when they're doing their work out in the forest, they can do it safely. So there are success stories that we can go on, and we're just building on those. What? Time? Right. Time. All right. The last guest speaker I had, thanks Cameron,